Our country no longer operates with a budget. Doesn't matter anymore, apparently. They can just tell the country through the media that we have must pass legislation. We have a National Defense Authorization Act. So unless you want to compromise our national security, you got to support the passage of this budget. The Republicans are going to have to go along with it. The Democrats are going to have to go along with it. And somehow one of them is the good guy and one of them is the bad guy. But no matter what, it still gets what it wants. Isn't that amazing? Always the uniparty. Whichever brand needs to be the bad guy, the heel at any point, that's just fine. And the other side will be the hero. And whenever that needs to be flipped, they just reverse the polarity and there we are. So they've always just continued going on and on and on without a budget. It's almost like the government doesn't actually exist, except to the extent that the media says it does. And we are projected the existence of this obviously fake and illegitimate false reality layer over the constitutional republic that might represent a real government and also might not. And that projection is what we believe our entire lives are run by. The political soap opera that plays out on television every single day is an obsession. And we can't stop getting hoodwinked because we are so tuned in to that television show. It's not really any different than the people who obsessively watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's more like, in my mind, the daily soap operas that housewives have been obsessed with, or now it's just lonely single women, obsessed with for the last 60 years. 5 days a week, nonstop, on and on and on. I had a good friend of mine, she was like a sister to me, who was a soap opera star, and still is. And they just go every week, memorize their lines the night before, they go in, they hit all their marks. And, that is what art allows us to do, is experience things that we would not otherwise experience in our own lives through the eyes and experiences of a character, through the emotions that a piece of art evokes or a piece of music. That's the hope, that we understand something about the real world that actually helps us guide our way through the real world. But often we're just engaged in a false reality that may or may not teach us anything about the real world. And the more manipulative stories out there don't teach us anything about the real world. In fact, they convince us that the real world is not only something other than it is, it's the exact opposite of what it is. And again, that is what our politics now are designed to do. And so I spend a lot of my time on this show and on Badlands and on my social media, as you will notice, and as most of you have noticed, attempting to illustrate this so that we can step back from the story, understand that it is a story that doesn't have to reflect reality at all. And upon that understanding, to view it as a story, understand it as a story, break it down as a story, ask, what do they want us to believe? And through then understanding that, avoid being hoodwinked by the television, because that's what's happening. Everyone is being hoodwinked. What we talked about with the reversal of these polarities is the idea that we saw the uniparty right side of the media attempting to fight back against those who were obviously hoodwinking us about COVID, about elections, about these wars, etc. And we thought these people are our allies because they understand that the other side is trying to hoodwink us and get the best of us. We don't want those people to be able to implement their agenda because we know their agenda is bad for people like us because they say mean things about people like us all the time. And we understand their agenda as they lay it out. All of those things are true. And we see these people fighting for us. And we think, well, they're the heroes fighting against these people trying to degrade our culture and hoodwink us. And sure, we don't really agree with them either, but we can see that they're fighting against our true enemies, which makes them, at least for now, our allies. And so you reverse that polarity. Before, the uniparty left narrative was dominant. That was the dominant narrative within the central narrative, where all the support was. And so we have the controlled opposition within the central narrative fighting back against that, but never breaking us out of that central narrative, keeping us inside. That's what the gatekeepers do. They say, Joe Biden is president, even if there's no reason to believe he received 81 million real lawful American votes. That just doesn't matter right now. We have to protect our institutions. And Fox News says it the same way MSNBC says it. They just say, well, we need to fight these people. And if we're focused on those things, looking back toward 2020, we're never going to be able to defeat these wokes over here. And so then the polls reverse. And now the uniparty right narrative is the dominant narrative within the central narrative. And we see the uniparty left and the liberals and the communists, the ones who identify as communists, not the neoconservatives who are also communists and globalists, but don't identify as such. Now they're the rebels fighting back against this brutal controlling force of the uniparty right. They'll gatekeep their side. They'll say, oh, the far left has gone too far. We need to draw them back toward the center. And of course, the never Trump side of the uniparty right. What we need to do is bring everyone back to the center. And the Democrats, they're closer to the center right now. So we're going to align with them, while the uniparty right, dominant narrative, aligns with MAGA. And they say, hey, guys, we are your friends. It's like that Steve Buscemi meme. There he is with the skateboard, looking all 60, hooded sweatshirt, backwards cap. How do you do, fellow kids? Ah, yes. Like 21 Jump Street. I think that's the parody. They're just like us. They are just like us. And that's, of course, what CPAC is about. Hey, look, everybody, the conservative establishment is totally MAGA now. We are your MAGA friends for the next 4 years. And that's what we get from the reversal in polarity. But the point is to be able to step outside the controlled opposition dynamic, because the enemy is the global regime. If we are looking at all of this through good twin and evil twin, rather than getting distracted by what the television says or concerned with what this country or that country is doing, as if good and evil factions don't exist in every one of these countries, well, then we're getting hoodwinked into the television narrative. And if we continue to believe that the uniparty right is on our side and they're our allies, and we are going to then carry their narrative forward because they're the ones fighting out front, these influencers, these TV characters. They're the ones really taking the fight to the opposition. They're the ones really moving the needle. Well, then we unify with them because they're preaching unity. If we're disagreeing with them, we're going to threaten the unity. And who knows what's going to happen in the 2026 midterms? Gosh, it's impossible to say what's going to happen 21 months from now. Are we going to lose a fake election because we weren't unified in February of 2025? That's what we're being told. And so we combine with them, we push their narrative, and all of a sudden, everybody around agrees that the uniparty right is correct about all these things. In fact, they're our saviors. And all they have to do is outlast Donald Trump for a few more years through fake election after fake election, lawfare and more lawfare. Oh, there's going to be scandals. They probably have scandals lined up already. I would be surprised if we don't have a fall scandal that has to do with sex again, just like Me Too in October 2017. And we're just going to have the rerun after the rerun after the rerun. And this is something we've talked about for a very long time. The point is not getting hoodwinked. It's not winning elections for the uniparty. Okay. It's not defeating our adversaries in Russia and China. It's defeating the global regime, stepping outside the controlled opposition dynamic, watching the uniparty fall away. If you want to stay in the matrix and just be happy that your brand is winning. In fact, you know what? Let's just go watch this scene right now, because it's such a good illustration of the dynamic that we are witnessing right now. And everybody just loves it because the steak, oh gosh, it tastes so good. Here we are. The great film, The Matrix.
Do we have a deal, Mr. Reagan?
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? And I want to be rich. You know, someone important,
Like an influencer.
like an actor.
Oh, same thing.
Whatever you want, Mr. Reagan.
Okay. You get my body back in the power plant. Reinsert me into the Matrix. I'll get you what you want.
Access codes to the Zion.
To the Zion mainframe. Amazing movie. Amazing movie. It's weird that he was eating J.D. Vance on screen. That's not okay. Okay, let's get back into some of the soap opera. And just remember to recognize it for exactly what it is. It's okay to engage with the soap opera. And to some extent, we have to engage with the soap opera. Maybe that time is running short. I mean, the engagement with the soap opera is becoming increasingly pointless once you have recognized it is a soap opera.